outline tips. This is what we use it for. Eventually, you know, every time, like when I was a kid, when my mom said, "Hey, let's go to Kmart," I'm like, "Oh hell yeah!" And I had my route that I would take, and I take like one tip of everything, and then I have this pocket full of tips. And then, long story short, you know, 1994. Well, in the 80s, between the late 80s, 90s, when graffiti went to Europe, you know, graffiti is born and raised American, and got packaged together. So, yo, Europe, check out what we're doing. The Europeans opened this present. It's like, man, this is awesome. You know, obviously the Europeans are way more artistically inclined and appreciate the arts more. So it was immediately seen for the artistic value more so than the legal aspect of it. And so a couple writers figured out, hey, you know, if we had more than just our 3 shades of blue and 2 shades of yellow from different products, what if we created our own spray paint? So in 1994, these guys got together and started to make their own paint. This is the latest line that they came out with, and they call it 94 as a tribute as to when it started. The difference in the paint that is used now, or the difference between paint that we use and crappy paint that you buy at the store is, one, this stuff is made for lawn chairs and mailboxes and just crap, whatever you want to paint. And so these tips, we call them sucker tips because only suckers would really use them. They don't really give you the desired effect that you're really wanting. And I think that these cans are somewhat made, they're designed to fail, so that you end up having to do multiple coats and there's no even finish, so then you have to go buy another can of paint. And so the major difference between these two brands is what separates them and better for makes them better for artistic purposes is these are manufactured without all the defects that these have to produce art. One being that this is a low.
This is made where?
And this was from Spain.
Oh, okay.
And there's multiple brands now, but 94 these were the only people making custom paint. So the first thing that you want to look at is the pressure. These cans have less pressure. Whenever you depress the actuator on this guy, you get mainly gas and paint goes everywhere.
Yeah.
And you see more of the gas in the air than the paint. So as you start to spray paint, what happens is you end up with this massive cloud of overspray and there's dust everywhere, and you're not really utilizing your paint effectively. When you depress the actuator on this can, you actually get more paint than air and gas. So the next thing you want to look at is they sell you on the high gloss. Every brand you say, oh, this is high gloss, this is great. This stuff comes in a matte finish. So because of that, you get two effects change when you go to a matte finish. The first one is when you use this stuff, you automatically start seeing these drips because the chemical that makes the paint glossy is what makes the paint drip.
Slows the drying time.
It also makes the paint, it takes it longer to dry, correct. So this stuff, since you have a lower pressure, you get better coverage in one pass. Because it's a matte finish, it dries quicker. Within seconds, you can actually touch it by hand. Within a minute, it's completely dry.
Check out his necklace.
I know, I saw it.
The tips that we use now, again, back in the days, we had to kind of steal our tips. And through ghetto technology and other kind of advances, we now are able to buy these by the thousands.
Really?
And all these tips do something different. This is a gold dot.
Y'all don't ever use the WD-40 nozzles?
Well, actually, what happened was along the way, American paint companies figured out what was going on, and they changed all their tips. Now, most of the cans that you buy at the store, the can is male. So we can no longer use any of our tips on domestic paint. All of the tips are female.
Right.
So now we can't use any of these tips on any other brands, which is okay. However, again, through technology and saying, you know what, you can't stop us, recently we started to manufacture female custom tips.
Oh, wow.
So now we actually have tips that we can use on these brands.
Yeah, I knew y'all had done that.
Who makes your tips?
Well, again, we buy these from all over. There's some that come from Germany. There's some. I mean, and nowadays, most paint companies are starting to supply their own paint or their own tips. So if you buy this brand, they say, you know what, it'll work with these tips, but we have our own select tips that we recommend you use. It's become an actual market.
Man, once again, I thank you for everything.